After our night together, my alpha and childhood sweetheart, Tim, called a doctor to have his mark washed off me. I'm getting married next month. I don't want my Omega to get the wrong idea. He gets jealous easily, and I can't bear to see him cry. Besides, you're an older, single Omega now. You can't go on dates with other alphas still carrying my mark. He tossed a check at me, his voice cruel and cold. You've been with me a long time. I'll make sure you're compensated. I'll send you an invitation to the wedding. Make sure you come to the reception. Whenever Tim went into his rut, it was hell for me. There wasn't a single patch of my skin left untouched. The gland on my neck was covered in bruised bite marks. His rum scent was like a transparent dome, trapping me completely. I lifted a weak hand to push at the alpha on top of me, begging for a break. Tim, I really can't, let me rest. It had been 7 days. Ever since I stepped into this villa, my entire world had been Tim. The alpha on top of me ignored my pleas, his hand on my waist tightening. A sharp pain shot through my gland as his powerful rum scent forced its way in, aggressively taking over the territory of my own bamboo scent. I trembled all over, completely broken by his overwhelming pheromones. Tears streamed down my cheeks uncontrollably. Tim's brow furrowed, and he roughly pressed his thumb against my swollen eyelids. Stop crying. It's annoying. A sour ache rose in my chest, making my nose sting. You're so mean, I mumbled in a hoarse voice, my bamboo scent softly wrapped around his rum scent. Tim was always especially fierce during his ruts. He'd maliciously tease me until I cried, then forbid me from actually crying. After Tim's rut ended, I lay exhausted on the bed, picking up my datapad to reply to work messages. The sound of the shower trickled from the bathroom. Half an hour later, the water stopped, and Tim emerged in a bathrobe. He looked at me, his brow furrowed with impatience. Hurry up and take a shower. I opened my arms, asking for a hug. I have no energy. Can you carry me? A marked Omega will always find ways to be close to their alpha. Tim shot me a cold look. Samuel, don't be so dramatic. I lowered my gaze, hiding the disappointment and humiliation in my eyes. 6 years. The only time I ever got a shred of tenderness from Tim was in bed. Outside of it, he was cold and emotionless, like a block of ice that would never melt. When I came out of the bathroom, Tim had already had the housekeeper clean up the mess in the room. The mixed scents of rum and bamboo were so faint they were almost gone. The 7 days of madness felt like a dream. After we ate, Tim took me to the Federation Hospital's gland clinic. I froze, confused. Are you not feeling well? No. I scheduled a mark removal surgery for you. My ears started ringing, and a chill ran through my body. I reached out to steady myself on a nearby chair to keep from collapsing. Why? I'm getting married next month, and I don't want my Omega to get the wrong idea. He gets jealous easily, and I can't bear to see him cry. Can't bear to see him cry? Then what about me? For a moment, I felt like I'd been dragged into a frozen lake. An icy chill crept up from the bottom of my heart, spreading until my whole body was numb, leaving nothing but cold. A doctor called my name, telling me to get ready for the procedure. Seeing me standing frozen, Tim spoke again. Samuel, you're almost 28. The Federation mandates that any Omega who can't find an alpha partner by 28 will be matched by the system with a highly compatible alpha. You can't go on dates with other alphas still carrying my mark. He remembered I was almost 28, but he forgot that my 28th birthday was next week. Tim cruelly handed me a check. I've already paid for the surgery. You've been with me for so long. I won't let you leave empty-handed. I'll send you an invitation to the wedding. Make sure you come to the reception. Samuel, this is where we end. I requested the surgery be done without anesthesia. I wanted to remember this bone-deep pain forever. The sharp scalpel sliced through my gland, peeling away the rum scent bit by bit. The fluorescent light above was blinding. Under the light, my face grew paler and paler. Tim's words hammered into my heart like nails, one by one. After being with Tim for 6 years, I really thought I would be the one to spend the rest of my life with him. After all, besides me, there were no other Omegas in his life. 6 years ago, Tim and I ran into each other again at a party. The cheerful boy from my memories had grown into a tall, handsome alpha. The only thing that hadn't changed was that expressionless, moody face. Tim was just like his pheromones. A single touch was enough to make you drunk. When I first started pursuing him, I didn't have high hopes. A golden boy like Tim had seen every kind of omega there was. But surprisingly, after a bit of back and forth, Tim and I ended up in bed together. In bed, Tim was dominant and insatiable. I drowned myself in his rum scent. I let him do whatever he wanted. After 6 years, I thought I must have held some place in his heart. Looking back now, it was all just wishful thinking. Samuel, you're such a joke. When I came out of surgery, Tim was already gone. He sent me a message on my datapad, saying something came up at work and he had to leave. I stood there for a few seconds, then gave a sarcastic smile and blocked him. On my 28th birthday, friends sent me messages one after another. I sat alone in my apartment and quietly ate an entire cake. Warm tears dripped onto the frosting. The cake in my mouth was so sweet it tasted bitter. In the 6 years I was with Tim, I had to drop all sorts of hints every year to make sure he didn't forget to get me a gift. This year, without my reminders, he unsurprisingly forgot. After silently finishing the cake, I pulled out a box and started packing up everything in the apartment that had to do with Tim. Clothes, shoes, mugs, watches, filled a huge box. Once I was done, I tossed it in a corner, planning to have it shipped out by Federation Express tomorrow. The clock struck midnight. Feeling defeated, I opened my datapad. A new name had appeared in my spouse information field, Calvin. The alpha in the photo had a chiseled profile, his jawline sharp and resolute. He had strong brows and a thin, faint scar near the corner of one eye, giving him a bit of a roguish look. The alpha's address was on X-Star, 20 light-years from the capital planet. For a harmonious marriage, the system advises you to begin cohabitation with your alpha as soon as possible. A new planet sounded pretty good. His datapad number was listed in the contact info. I thought for a moment, then dialed the unfamiliar number. Hello, this is Samuel, your Omega partner. Partner? His voice was deep with a slight rasp. Yes, the Federation system matched us automatically. Sorry, I was herding sheep all day. I haven't had a chance to check my datapad. Herding sheep? Is that his job? X-Star was known to be a less developed planet. After a few seconds of silence, I broke it. The system suggests we start living together soon. I can come to X-Star in a few days to meet you. Okay. Call me when you get here. I'll pick you up at the spaceport. The shuttle docked at the spaceport. Standing in the crowd, Calvin was impossible to miss. He was handsome but intimidating, with an air of integrity and a body packed with muscle. He walked over and took my luggage from me. I followed behind him nervously. At 6 feet 5 inches, one of his steps was like 2 of mine. Calvin noticed I was struggling and slowed his pace. We're out of food at home. I'm gonna stop by the supermarket to stock up. Okay. I need to pick up some daily necessities anyway. After that brief exchange, a long silence fell between us. While we were picking out vegetables, Calvin asked if there was anything I couldn't eat or really disliked. I hesitated for a moment, then answered honestly, I'm not a big fan of fish. Calvin nodded. I didn't know it then, but from that day on, fish never once appeared on our dinner table. I don't like fish, but Tim loved it. One time, he put some on my plate. After my initial delight, I told him I didn't really like fish. After hearing that, Tim just threw 2 words at me. So spoiled. I laughed and retorted, I'm not spoiled. I'm very easy to take care of. Tim's face was cold, and he didn't reply. After that, he never once put food on my plate again. What I didn't expect was for Calvin to move into the guest room, giving me the master bedroom. You're an Omega, and I'm your Alpha. As your partner, it's my duty to take care of you. I clutched the handle of my suitcase, my nose stinging. You go ahead and unpack. I'll get dinner started. Calvin made a couple of simple stir-fried dishes and a vegetable soup. When I came out after unpacking, he was serving the rice. 2 people, a small home, a single lamp, a simple meal. For the past 6 years, I had imagined a scene like this countless times. Samuel, wash up. It's time to eat. Without warning, tears streamed down my face. I turned away, wiped my eyes, and managed a quiet okay. After dinner, I loaded the dishes into the dishwasher. Calvin, probably worried I'd feel awkward, had gone back to his room early. I stood at his door, clutching the hem of my shirt, and worked up the courage to knock. Calvin, I need to talk to you. He closed his door and followed me to the living room. I pulled down my collar and, with a trembling hand, peeled off the scent blocker. The damaged gland was exposed under the bright lights. Calvin, I was in a very bad relationship. I just had gland removal surgery a week ago. As his legal partner, I had to be honest with him. Not every alpha could accept an omega with a damaged gland. Calvin didn't say anything. He stood up and helped me put the blocker back on. Samuel, that's not your fault. The one at fault is the person who hurt you. In the quiet night, Calvin's low voice comforted me. All my emotions felt like a ball of cotton stuck in my throat, unable to move up or down. Since the surgery, no one had asked me if it hurt. Samuel, I've never been in a relationship and I don't have much experience. My parents passed away a long time ago, so it's just me. I have a little money and not many hobbies. In return, Calvin told me about himself. I looked up at him, my heart feeling soft and pained at the same time. I couldn't quite tell what this feeling was. Calvin, I look forward to our future together. Samuel, the pleasure is all mine. A week after moving to X-Star, I got a call from my friend, Josh. He was furious, cursing Tim out for being blind and stupid, completely on my side. That omega isn't even a tenth as good as you. Tim is such a massive idiot. I knew why he was calling. Today was Tim's wedding day. The Pei family was one of the wealthiest on the capital planet, so the news was everywhere. On the TV screen, I saw a beautiful omega. The omega's face was glowing with happiness. Tim held his hand, sliding a ring onto his finger, a rare hint of tenderness in his usually cold eyes. Bitterness, hurt, and sadness washed over me. My heart felt heavy and damp. I gently cut Josh off. Let's not talk about him anymore. There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. Samuel, I'm so happy to hear you say that. It took you 6 years to see who he really was. It wasn't a waste. Calvin picked up the remote and changed the channel. He handed me a box of tissues and quietly went back to his room. After lunch, Calvin invited me to his farm. Blue skies, white clouds, a carpet of green that stretched to the horizon, with flocks of sheep like scattered white pearls. The scene was as beautiful as a painting. Calvin handed me a shepherd's crook. Want to try herding? I took the crook and walked among the sheep, strolling through the meadow. Calvin rode up on a horse, bent down, and offered me his hand. Want to give it a try? I'll guide you. If I go, what about the sheep? His eyes crinkled in a barely noticeable smile. Don't worry. This whole prairie is mine. They won't get lost. I thought for a second and placed my hand in his. Calvin grabbed my wrist and pulled me onto the horse, holding me securely in his arms. My body tensed up instinctively. Relax. If you fall, I'll be your cushion. The wind whistled past my ears. I closed my eyes, feeling content, the gloom in my heart slowly dissipating. Calvin, thank you. Thank you for cheering me up. A month later, my first heat after the surgery arrived. A fierce heat surged through my body, and my bamboo scent filled the entire room. My hands trembled as I fumbled for the suppressants in the drawer. But the suppressants couldn't quell the overwhelming heat. The pain in the back of my neck was a dense, sharp ache, like 1,000 needles pricking me. I felt like a dried-up riverbed, relentlessly baked by the sun. Calvin noticed something was wrong. Samuel, what's happening? A pained groan was my only reply. He turned to find the spare key and opened the door. Calvin glanced at the suppressant injector that had fallen on the floor. I'm taking you to the hospital. My mind was hazy from the heat. I reached out and grabbed his arm, begging him. I need your pheromones. Just a little. It hurts so much. The lingering rum scent deep within my gland fought against my own bamboo scent. I couldn't help but let out a sob, large tears rolling down my face. The moment he released his fresh grass scent, my bamboo scent wrapped around it softly. Calvin patiently released his pheromones to soothe me. I gripped the bedsheets, curling into a ball in distress, my body shaking uncontrollably. Calvin wrapped his arms around me over the blankets, holding me close and patting me gently as he murmured comforting words. A moment later, the last traces of the rum scent were completely driven out. Calvin's hand reached for the blocker on the back of my neck. I flinched back in fear. The pain of the mark removal was seared into my bones, leaving me terrified. "Don't be afraid. I won't do anything to hurt you." During my heat, Calvin stayed home to take care of me. Whenever I cried out in pain, he would quietly provide his pheromones. Other than that, he never crossed any lines. Capital Planet, in a top-floor office of a skyscraper in the financial district. Tim found his wedding ring uncomfortable and tossed it aside. For their 3rd anniversary, Samuel had given him a pair of couple's rings. He hadn't accepted them. A forced smile was on Samuel's face. "The ring is a gift. What you do with it is your business." Without a second thought, Tim threw it into a nearby trash can. Samuel stood there stunned for a few seconds, then turned and left. Not long after, Tim regretted it. He personally dug through the trash to retrieve the ring. That time, he had to swallow his pride and coax Samuel for a long time before he was forgiven. Snapping out of his memory, Tim glanced at the time on his screen. It was time for Samuel's heat. During his heat, Samuel would be extra clingy, like a little shadow you couldn't shake. If he couldn't see Tim, he would pout, his eyes welling up with tears, looking pitifully on the verge of crying. In the past, Tim was there for him, but this time, Samuel would probably have to get through it with suppressants. A few days ago, Tim had received a package from Samuel. It was all his stuff. He couldn't deny it. He loved Samuel. But more than Samuel, Tim loved power. To become the true head of the Smiths, he had agreed to a political marriage. Tim felt guilty about making Samuel get the gland removal surgery without any warning. He pressed the intercom to call his assistant. "Have the transfer documents for the villa in Ulu Bay been processed?" The assistant's face changed slightly. "Sir, Samuel refused it. Tell him it's his 28th birthday present." The assistant hesitated. "But Samuel's 28th birthday has already passed." "Passed? When?" "A month ago. The day he was discharged from the hospital." After work, Tim had his driver take him to Samuel's apartment. The light that had been left on for him for 6 years was out. His assistant told him that Samuel was no longer on the Capital Planet. His contact information was blocked. Tim had to find another way, calling Samuel's friend, Josh. "Where is he now?" A cold snort came from the other end, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "The baby's dead and now you're trying to play daddy? Tim, don't you think it's hilarious that you're asking me this now? I just want to know where he is." "Samuel is with his legally matched alpha, and he's very happy." "Tim, you wasted 6 years of Samuel's life. If you have any conscience left, don't go bother him." With that, Josh hung up. Tim got out of the car and lit a cigarette. Samuel had a legal alpha now. Would he be cuddling in that alpha's arms, acting cute? Would he offer up his gland to be bitten, not even crying out in pain? Would he memorize that alpha's likes and dislikes? The more Tim thought about it, the darker his expression became. He threw the cigarette butt to the ground and crushed it under his foot, his cold, indifferent eyes turning grim. "Find out where the hell Samuel is right now." After my heat ended, Calvin took me to the hospital for a checkup at the gland clinic. I nervously fiddled with the hem of my shirt. Calvin patted my hand. "Don't overthink it. It's just a checkup." The doctor and Calvin were old acquaintances. "There's a pheromonal imbalance. Nothing major. Just take the medication on time and regulate your body's pheromones." After giving me instructions, he found an excuse to call Calvin outside. "Calvin, what's your relationship with him?" "He's the omega on my marriage certificate." The doctor was speechless for a moment. "With your status, you could have picked someone better." "He's great." The doctor wanted to say more. Calvin clapped him on the shoulder. "He's your brother-in-law now. In my eyes, he's the best." The doctor shrugged and threw up his hands with a sheepish grin. My apologies. I misspoke. Leaving the hospital, Calvin took me out to eat. It was Valentine's Day, and a hot pot restaurant was running a promotion. Couples who took a picture together got a free iced drink. The server looked at me expectantly. I was about to refuse, but Calvin agreed. He came and sat down next to me. Could you two lean a little closer? A more intimate pose, please. I looked up at Calvin, flustered. Calvin put his arm around my shoulder, his other hand cupping my chin. His thumb gently caressed my skin as his dark eyes stared intently at me. The fresh grass scent between us grew stronger. My heartbeat unknowingly fell out of rhythm. With a click, Calvin and I were captured on the Polaroid. After the photo was taken, I immediately pulled away from him. You two are a great match. The server brought over 2 bowls of lychee shaved ice. Calvin pushed one in front of me. I remember you like lychee, but your stomach isn't great, so don't overdo it. Just half a bowl is good. For Calvin's birthday, I wanted to bake him a cake myself. Tim liked sweets but was picky. He complained that store-bought cakes were too sweet, so I learned to bake for him. One time, I accidentally burned my hand and went to him for comfort with teary eyes. Tim had blown on it a few times with a stern face. I held on to that finger and was happy for the whole day. Just as the cake went into the oven, the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find a beautiful Omega holding a bouquet of flowers. He looked at me with hostility. Who are you? Where's Calvin? This is my house. Who are you? Your house. You're the Omega the system assigned to Calvin. He sneered, a disdainful smile on his face. Calvin took pity on you and let you stay here to recover, but don't push your luck and think you can cling to him. An Omega with an incomplete gland. What makes you think you're good enough for Calvin? His words were like daggers. Calvin might look intimidating, but he was thoughtful and attentive, remembering details that others wouldn't notice. Since moving to X-Star, I had always been the one being taken care of. Calvin was a wonderful alpha, but I wasn't as pathetic as he made me out to be. Everyone has the right to be loved. You couldn't win him over, so you come here to cause trouble. Don't you think you're pathetic? The Omega's face instantly turned ugly, his features twisting in anger. No matter how jealous you are, Calvin will only ever be my alpha. Just as I finished my retort, I looked up and saw Calvin standing not far away. He was looking at me, a faint, heart-stoppingly gentle smile in his eyes. The once arrogant Omega immediately transformed into a delicate wallflower upon seeing Calvin. Calvin, he cooed, his pheromones wafting out. Calvin ignored him and walked straight over, putting his arm around my waist. Alex, I remember telling you I'm not interested. Alex's eyes reddened instantly. Calvin, you don't like me, so you like him? What's there to like about an Omega who's been abandoned by another alpha? Calvin's eyes turned sharp, his voice commanding and final. Alex, I don't want to make this ugly. If you still want to call me brother, then Samuel is your elder. Is this how you treat your superiors? Samuel is wonderful. He's good enough for anyone. His voice was tinged with an impersonal coldness. Alex was so frightened he started sobbing, choking out an apology to me. I'm sorry. I didn't say a word. Whether you forgive him or not is your choice. Calvin's words gave me even more courage. I don't want to forgive you. Alex's tears fell harder. He frantically piled the flowers and gifts by the door, made an excuse, and left. After closing the door, Calvin took the initiative to explain. Alex is my army buddy's younger brother. He confessed to me before, but I turned him down. I lowered my eyes and mumbled, "You don't have to explain everything so clearly." Calvin moved towards me, his presence overwhelming. I backed away until I stumbled onto the sofa. His deep eyes were fixed on me, my reflection mirrored in his pupils. Samuel, I don't want you to misunderstand. I asked dumbly, why don't you want me to misunderstand? Meeting his intense, predatory gaze, my heart started racing as if in freefall, and a flush crept up my cheeks. Ding! The cake in the oven was ready. Tim was having dinner with his Omega when he received the message from his assistant. The moment he saw the photo, he knocked over the glass of water beside him. A tall alpha had his arm around Samuel's waist. Samuel was looking up at him shyly, his eyes shimmering like a spring lake, so captivating. That gentle, devoted gaze once belonged only to him. Throughout the meal, scenes of his time with Samuel flashed through Tim's mind. The person who was once his whole world, who looked at him like he was a precious jewel, was now nestled in someone else's arms. A torrent of jealousy and anger threatened to drown him. The gloom in Tim's eyes deepened, chilling to the bone. The next day, Tim went to X-Star under the pretext of developing a project. After finishing his work, he went to Samuel's neighborhood to wait. The scene before him made his blood boil. Samuel was eating a scoop of ice cream, his eyes curving in satisfaction. He then scooped some up and held it to the alpha's mouth. The alpha bent down slightly and nodded, praising how good the ice cream was. The smile in Samuel's eyes deepened as he stood on his tiptoes to wipe a smudge of ice cream from the alpha's mouth. The alpha's hand wrapped around Samuel's waist, pulling him closer and closer into his embrace. Their lips were getting closer and closer. Samuel. Tim threw open the car door, his voice hoarse and heavy, his eyes stormy. Samuel turned his head in a panic, his knuckles white as he clutched his shirt. The alpha turned his head, his gaze defiant as he sized Tim up, the hand on Samuel's waist tightening. It's only been 2 months. Don't you recognize me? Seeing Tim again, my heart was surprisingly calm. The memories of the past 6 years flashed before my eyes like a movie reel. The regrets, the debts, the grievances, all vanished in an instant. Calvin glanced at my face and moved to shield me behind him. I squeezed his hand, signaling him not to worry. Tim frowned, his bloodshot eyes filled with anger. I looked at him and found it laughable. He was the one who dragged me to the operating table without a word. And now he was the one staring at me like he'd caught me cheating. Do you need something? Can't I see you if I don't need something? No. For a fleeting moment, I remembered when Tim and I first got together. I was so clingy, always finding excuses to be near him. Samuel, don't you have anything better to do? You're so free all the time. Can't I see you if I don't need something? No. Tim, you and I are both in relationships now. This kind of casual chat isn't appropriate. Samuel, why didn't you take the villa I gave you? Honestly, I make good money. I don't need your villa. Since we're breaking up, it's better to make a clean break. Hearing this, Calvin let out a chuckle. His laugh made my face flush. Mr. Pei, chasing after your ex after a breakup isn't very classy. Tim's gaze slid to Calvin, and he sneered. Samuel was in love with me for 6 years. Standing next to me, you're the one who looks pathetic. You two haven't marked yet, have you? But did you know? After just 1 month, he obediently bared his gland for me to bite. Do you know how wild he gets in my bed? Part of my heart completely crumbled. With a boom, amidst dust and ashes, it shattered into a pile of ruins. Tim, I'm warning you, don't go too far. I stopped a furious Calvin. He's not worth getting violent over. Tim, are you here now because you still have feelings for me? He pressed his lips together, silent. For 6 years, it was always me chasing you. My friends all said it wasn't worth it, called me a love-struck fool. But I never thought so. I never kept score in love. I used to think that besides not loving me enough, you were perfect in every way. But now, I feel sorry for the Samuel who foolishly offered up his whole heart to you. Samuel, I reached up and peeled off the blocker on my neck, revealing the gland that was mostly missing. Tim, do you have any idea how much it hurts when a scalpel cuts through your gland? Do you know how the pheromone imbalance tormented me, keeping me up night after night? You brought all this pain on me. It's a constant reminder of what a cold, heartless person you are. If possible, I hope you never appear in my life again. I looked at this flustered, helpless man, tears welling in my eyes. Calvin squeezed my hand tightly and guided me home. Once the door was closed, I buried my face in Calvin's chest and began to sob uncontrollably. All the pent-up grievances and sadness burst forth like a broken dam. 6 years of giving my all, and all I got in return was a body full of scars. Calvin gently patted my back. Go ahead and cry. It'll be better after this. He held my face, his thumb gently wiping away my tears. The day Calvin's rut began, the rich scent of fresh grass woke me from my sleep. He had locked himself in his room and wouldn't let me in. An alpha's rut without an omega to soothe them is especially hard to bear. Anxiety and restlessness gnaw away at an alpha's heart like a worm. I could hear constant movement from the room, his rapid breathing mixed with pained groans. I released my pheromones to comfort him. "Calvin, let me in." His deep voice refused. "No, I can't control myself right now. I'll hurt you. My gland has already healed. Samuel, I want to have a proper, slow burn romance with you." He leaned against the door, his voice hoarse as he coaxed me. "Be good. I'm fine, don't worry." A deep ache bloomed in my chest, making my nose sting. How lucky was I to have met Calvin. He gives me a shoulder to cry on. When others put me down, he stands by my side without hesitation to defend me. When I'm sad, he silently stays with me, finding ways to make me happy. I tightened my grip on the doorknob, making a decision in my heart. That evening, I set the dinner I made on the table, then went back to my room and closed the door. Calvin came out to eat. When he was finished, I came out and hugged him from behind. Calvin's body went rigid, his muscles tensing from the stimulus. "Samuel, go back to your room." I shook my head, refusing. "Calvin, this is the first time I've ever initiated a hug with you. Are you sure you want to push me away?" "Samuel, I have no self-control when it comes to you. Once we start, I won't be able to stop." I pressed my face tightly against his back, my voice a seductive whisper. "I'm your omega. You can do whatever you want to me." Calvin slowly turned around. His eyes were so dark they could swallow me whole, a dangerous glint in them, like a hunter locking onto his prey. Before I could even swallow, he hooked an arm around my waist and kissed me fiercely. A spark hit dry tinder, instantly igniting a wildfire. The scent of fresh grass wrapped tightly around me. "This might hurt a little. Just bear with it." I leaned obediently against his chest, entrusting myself completely to Calvin. Sharp fangs pierced my gland. The scents of fresh grass and bamboo intertwined. The morning after Calvin's rut ended, I woke up in his arms. He brushed my hair away from my face. A gentle good morning kiss landed on my forehead. "Samuel, you've worked hard." His jet black eyes held a scorching light. My heart felt like it had been seared, and it started beating wildly. The scents of fresh grass and bamboo mingled stickily. Our gazes met and slowly changed in meaning. We shared a long, lingering kiss in the morning light. During the 7 days of his rut, Calvin only gave me a temporary mark. Fearing I would overthink it, he patiently explained, "When your gland is fully recovered, we'll do the permanent mark." My face flushed, and I nodded shyly. After that day, Calvin moved from the guest room back into the master bedroom. One night, after we were intimate, Calvin held my waist and said, "I have to go to the Capital Planet in a few days for a business deal. I want to take you to meet my friends. Would you be willing to go?" No matter what he did, he always patiently asked for my opinion, respecting my every decision. The dinner was at one of the top clubs on the Capital Planet, a members-only establishment. The members were all from the Capital Planet's elite class. Tim had once tried to buy a membership but failed. When the door opened, the faces inside made my heart race. They were people I often saw on the Federation news broadcasts, from the military and political departments of the Federation. I thought I had married a simple shepherd, but I never expected. Calvin greeted them familiarly, then introduced me. "This is the person in charge of my finances, Samuel." Through their conversation, I learned that Calvin was a retired colonel who had moved to X-Star to enjoy his retirement. A friend teased him, "You used to be as chaste as a monk, but now you can't seem to let him go. He's so wonderful. If I don't hold on tight, what if he runs away?" A wave of cheers and jeers washed over us. My face turned bright red, and I shrank into Calvin's arms. "All right, stop teasing. He's shy." Everyone groaned, acting like they couldn't stand the sight of us. Calvin's friends respected me just as they respected him. In my 6 years with Tim, he rarely introduced me to his friends. After the dinner, I ran into Tim at the club's entrance. His tired eyes lit up. Samuel. Then the light in his eyes died instantly. You've been marked by him. Calvin pulled me behind him, jealously shielding me completely from view. The two alphas faced off, the atmosphere growing heavy. Mr. Pei, coveting someone else's omega is not a good habit. Samuel has already made it clear that he doesn't want you disturbing his life. Tim's gaze fell on our intertwined hands, and he gave a bitter smile. Samuel, I want to talk to you alone for a few minutes. There's nothing he can't hear. If you have something to say, say it. My omega and I are just in a business marriage. We have no feelings for each other. Samuel, I regret it. Power is nowhere near as important as you are. Tim, saying these things now is meaningless. It just makes you look like a terrible person. Tim's face stiffened. He asked cautiously, if you had to choose again, would you still have pursued me? I answered without hesitation. No. If I could, I'd rather have never met you. After Tim left, Calvin squeezed my hand tightly. I'm fine. You don't have to worry about me. He pulled me into his arms, one hand on my waist, the other on the back of my neck. He was piecing my broken heart back together, gently caring for it. From now on, he completely and absolutely possessed it. The day before we returned to X-Star, Calvin took me to a famous restaurant for couples on the capital planet. Halfway through the meal, brilliant fireworks lit up the sky outside, and a waiter approached with a large bouquet of roses. Calvin took the roses and handed them to me. I haven't really pursued anyone before, so don't mind me being a bit cliché. Samuel, I know our steps have been out of order, but the confession, the dates, the proposal, the wedding, I'll make them all up to you one by one. Samuel, I like you. Will you be my boyfriend? The heart in my chest was beating powerfully, passionately, for Calvin. I slowly nodded. I do. I'm willing to spend a lifetime in a relationship with you. Calvin, during my next heat, let's complete the permanent mark. Not long after we returned to X-Star, my heat arrived as expected. This time, Calvin was no longer a gentleman. The alpha's pheromones assaulted me from all directions. I stared at Calvin, my mind filled with images of his gentle side, the way he comforted me, the way he loudly declared his love for me. My bamboo scent unfurled, wrapping around Calvin. The bamboo and fresh grass scents blended together. Calvin slowly leaned in close to my ear, and the soft, tickling sensation made my body tremble. His lips traveled down from my ear, slowly moving until they pressed against the back of my neck. My hands, wrapped around his neck, tightened. Sharp fangs pierced my gland, and his pheromones were forcefully injected. A knot formed, and the permanent mark was complete. From this moment on, I belonged completely to him, and he belonged completely to me. Tim's epilogue. As the heir to the Smiths, I rarely had time for myself. My life was filled with endless studies and hobby classes. My alpha father said that as a pay, I had to work 1,000 times harder than anyone else. Samuel was a bright spot in my life. His sweet, clingy calls of brother could erase a whole day's fatigue. Unfortunately, the good times didn't last. The Liu family's fortunes suddenly turned, and they went bankrupt. Not long after, they moved away. The sound of the shower trickled from the bathroom. That delicate porcelain doll had fully blossomed. His face was palm-sized, his features exquisitely perfect, with red lips and white teeth, the type to stun you at first glance. He greeted me warmly. When I didn't respond, his eyes fell in disappointment, but in an instant, a smile returned to his face. The 6 years I spent with Samuel were the happiest and most relaxed years of my life. With him, I didn't have to be the Smith's heir who had to be first in everything. But it turns out people shouldn't be spoiled. For 6 years, I carelessly squandered Samuel's love, yet I never once lowered my head to tell him I liked him. In the world of business, the one who shows their hand first is the loser. But love isn't a game. I thought I was the winner, but in reality I lost everything. I couldn't let go of everything I had, nor could I abandon the effort I had put in to become the head of the Smiths. So, I personally sent Samuel to the operating table. I thought I would be fine with it, but when I saw Samuel smiling so happily in another alpha's arms, I couldn't control the jealousy churning inside me. That scene stung my eyes. When Samuel pointed to the ugly scar on his gland and cried, I finally realized what a horrible thing I had done. His words hammered into my heart like nails, raw and painful. Turned out, I had already hurt him beyond repair. Scalding tears dripped onto my heart. He said he'd rather have never known me. He said he was happy now and asked me not to bother him. He walked away, holding that alpha's hand, without a single look back. I slowly sank to my knees in the wind. Even though the wind was strong enough to blow away the tears on my face, new ones kept rolling down endlessly.